Hi everyone, I'm Pratik Udeshi. I head the agency and the video business for Amazon India. Today we are speaking about the decoding of the video advertising trends in the India ecosystem. We have with us Reethika, who heads e-commerce for Dr Reddy's, and we also have Rohan, who is the managing partner for digital at Havas. Welcome, folks. Thank you. And thank you for joining us. As we start, can you take us through, Reethika, maybe the digital landscape on the brand side and how that has evolved over the years, and how have you seen video playing a part in that evolution? Because for a pharmaceutical brand becoming a consumer-facing brand, I think there's a fairly large change.
Yeah. Okay, so there are two parts to that question. I'll break it down into two parts, right? So digital marketing as a landscape and has changed and how, right? I can say that the last 2 decades, it's gone through a mammoth change of sorts. From just doing static banner ads to video ads, and then native taking over, and now video playing a mainstream role because the kind of influence that video advertising has through digital mediums has changed a lot more impactful. I think just the formats have changed, the impact has changed. The prominence that this media is getting also has changed drastically in the country. And I would say that the difference has been largely with the fact that the focus of the consumer has bought in so much of specificity in terms of who you want to target. And then when video advertising plays a role in delivering that high impact,
Right.
That change has been very, very obvious. And coming to, pharmaceutical as an industry, so I think the pharmacy industry as such has been very strongly working towards, taking a lot of their OTC brands directly to the consumer and making it mainline, let's say, for lack of better words, FMCG brands, right?
Sure.
And for that effort and initiative, digital has played a very big role, because all the brands that pharmaceutical, industry brings into directly in terms of the consumer landscape of sorts is very, very targeted, right? They're not mass brands.
Sure.
And the digital industry, with the fact that it brings so much of targeting, available options, it becomes a very big, prominent area in the media mix for all pharmaceutical brands to play. And then when video advertising adds that impact to it, it becomes a lot more prominent. And that's where the landscape is changing for us, and video advertising is becoming a lot prominent in our media mix.
Great. If you just double click on that from a marketing strategy perspective, is that something that you're specifically doing or thinking about that is working or that you're focusing on?
So, Pratik, when we started off, it was all about, demographic and targeting, right? To today understanding, let me tell you, we have a product which is specifically for psoriasis. Okay. It's a very, very niche condition, right? You don't even know signals in the internet today to identify who's really dealing with these conditions. The law doesn't allow us to kind of target, very specifically, because this is a private information of sorts, right? So all that you can do is be available where there is a person who's looking for information, right?
Sure.
And in those areas, video then plays a big role. So whether it is through video messages on, of course, YouTube, or whether it is, video messages where for products which are on Amazon, listed on Amazon, right? Like when you kind of want to put a lot more richer information, video helps there. So that's really changing for us as such. So if I kind of have to say, for video, that audience, if I'm able to replicate at a larger and masser scale, then there is advertising which is really playing a role for me. In cases of like other products, let's say there's moisturizing cream, there is moisturizing cream for dryness.
Yeah.
Those are slightly more masser areas where I can still do video advertising. But dry skin moisturization cream and just a moisturization cream, there is a difference. And that landscape is brought through video advertising a lot more sharper for me.
Got it.
In fact, some of the, versions that I have actually used within Amazon itself as an ecosystem shows and how richer targeting can help me drive a lot more, from the awareness to the consideration stage and from the consideration to conversion. That entire full funnel view is what I'm able to actually get with newer ages like Amazon Video now. And that's very helpful. Not only from understanding my audience a lot better, but also, delivering in terms of, let's say, when I do a marketing strategy, I'm able to actually say that this is the needle which moves from, let's say, from an awareness stage to a consideration stage,
Right.
which market research used to do for us.
Correct.
And now we're able to see correlations of that because of the full funnel metrics that platforms like Amazon is, offering to us.
Got it. Great to hear. Rohan, you managed, multiple different brands, right? How have you seen this evolution on the video side?
I think I'll take Reethika's point forward, right? Very interesting. Maybe about 2005-06, we used to talk about only static, and there used to be industry reports which says less than 5% of consumption used to be on video. At that point of time, I think we didn't really think about video going to be such an important parameter in the entire planning exercise. I think, let me first talk about data, right? I think the average cost per GB in India is just less than 14 rupees. I think globally we are one of the best markets to be able to support a very low cost data. Number two, I think users, we have a lot of volume. I think it's estimated that just 5G users in India are going to be touching 130 million. Think of the 4G and the rest of them, right? And rural penetration is also increasing. So I think that's an important parameter. If you talk about a lot of content and communications, right? Now that also has changed over years, right? Initially there used to be, I think the first video unit could have been somewhere in mid-2000s, video ad. And at that point of time, the purpose was very clear, right? It was trying to learn rather something from how TV would classically be. Yeah. I think that is where we changed, right? I think we changed from a very linear to a fishbone sort of a design. Awareness, interest, desired, action. But today, I think at any given moment of time, irrespective of what product you're purchasing, you are searching, you're watching a video, you're seeing a comparison, you're seeing an influencer, you're going to a branded website. Yeah. And wherever you're going, a lot of what you're consuming is more video-centric. So I think coming back to, if I talk as an agency, the evolution has been definitely from a classic static to all the way video. But today within video, I think based on the funnel, and I think Reethika also mentioned that, full funnel planning is important, right? So either it's a reach frequency planning when you're talking about awareness, you move down and, you are expecting some outcomes to come or eventually towards conversion, right? So irrespective of what funnel you are in, there is a video ad unit, and very specifically also talking about the Amazon video solutions also. The biggest change that happened personally that I feel is that when e-commerce, I think about 260 e-commerce users in India willing to purchase, and if you see or are exposed to a product at the right environment, and it can eventually lead to a immediate purchase, right? The search behavior also has changed. So I think it's an important parameter to see as planners. Today, while we are going behind audiences, subconsciously we are just saying video is what needs to be advertised. And that's how it is. I think that's what I have seen at least change from a planning perspective.
Got it. So this is a great input into the next question, right? As to OTT landscape on its own is a fairly large, crowded space, right? Obviously there is a platform like YouTube, but there are, I think, 15, 17 other OTTs in the ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
How do you think of, from a planning strategy perspective, right? How do you look at the OTTs? And in a crowded space, how do you bifurcate, like, where should you focus on, right? Both from an agency perspective, and then we'll come to Reethika from a brand perspective. And, what's a good way to look at it?
All right. I think I see 45 plus OTTs, at least in India. And I think the good part is that, everyone's trying to create their own niche, right? For sports, you have something. For kids, you have something. For South-centric videos, you have something. End of the day, I think every year, every 3 years, there is a trend that we discuss. Maybe this trend is more around having audiences going behind audiences, right? And OTT forms an important part of the mix. Like now, if you connect OTT with connected TVs, if you take these two, what classically was the power of large format dominance, what TV brought, to the measurability of digital, right? Both are coming together. So today, metrics like viewability or VTR, are important, and even attention, right? At times, you're exposed to so many ads even online. I don't know how many are you actually consuming, to be very honest.
Yeah.
And I mean, think of the classic ad units where you intend to skip at the right time.
Yeah.
It's also a reality, right? So I think video is not just a function of what formats, but the kind of way the video is brought about, vertical, horizontal. I think these are all critical elements. So for me personally, I believe that OTT is an important parameter to the entire mix, and maybe it's not just a YouTube story today. I think it's screen planning that's going to be important. And again, I mean, I'm not going to have the entire conversation between traditional or digital. Wherever the audience is, maybe certain channels will play the role of building reach. Certain will, maybe digital comes in and perhaps plays the role of frequency building with them. And then obviously there are multiple ad units. So I personally feel, and we have had a lot of exposure also from mini TV. And I think to be able to seamlessly, just one point, right? To be able to seamlessly look at something, be convinced and buy then and there, I think is a big difference that we can bring in lives of consumers at least.
Sure. Reethika?
So, okay, while I agree to all of what he said, so, for me, OTT is like how YouTube or rather digital video was always looked at a TV plus kind of a scenario.
True.
For me, OTT is almost like a YouTube plus kind of scenario today. I mean, it is what it is, right? So unless any of these OTTs are adding to my large ecosystems, they're really not there for me.
Got it.
The fact is that even within, so I'm not a consumer of YouTube at all today. I mean, that's just, I don't believe in going to a YouTube and kind of, searching. I probably search in, other ecosystems.
Sure.
But the fact is that YouTube is the biggest chunk of digital video users today, and hence OTT gets added on through because the fact that if there is no walled garden of sorts, then there is a addition. Now, but incidentally, like the other OTT environment which has got added into my media mix is the Amazon OTT environment, which is the mini TV environment of sorts, right? It's because of the fact that I anyways do a lot of advertising through Amazon. If I'm able to reach my audience in a plus kind of a way, then there is a value add from an OTT perspective which is being added. So a mini TV for now, and we did an experiment recently, whereby we actually, and through, some of these tools, like the marketing cloud tools that you guys have.
AMC.
Yeah, the AMC, system. We were able to identify that, look, in spite of the fact that I was doing a whole level of full funnel advertising, an environment like a mini TV adding on into my media mix brought in almost some 11 to 13% of additional audience, right? Then gave me belief that, look, maybe there's something that I'm doing which I could have probably done to add a little bit more of my relevant audience bucket as such. So adding a OTT into my media mix, into a environment where there's already scale for me, makes a lot of value add. So will I go to those 45 OTTs? Probably not, right? But if there is some kind of way I'm able to extend it, maybe I will.
Got it. And from an efficacy perspective, Rohan, how do you look at measuring efficacy, right? Obviously, you spoke about reach and frequency, but are those the key parameters that you think about from an efficacy perspective? Or would you look beyond that?
All right. So I think if it's, if video ads are running on a model which largely is intended to aim at prospecting or get newer audience into the funnel, right? Definitely reach becomes an important metric and the right frequency. But I think what it also leads to is it helps in your bottom of funnel conversion. Now, how does it help, right? We are running a lot of ads. Newer consumers are getting exposed to, communication. Similarly, in case of also sponsored brands, right? The intention is to get newer audience, right? So if you even focus only on that, there is a significant increase in searches, your organic traffic, your direct traffic, right? Now, if you just do science just behind your impact of media investments on top funnel to the percentage increase in your organic metrics. So you already have a baseline of audiences. It's like starts going up. When you switch off any of these ad units, there is a decay that's happening, but it stagnates above your baseline. That is the incremental audience that you have got into the funnel, right? So one way of measuring that could definitely be your impact that it has on digital brand health metrics. Obviously, there could be finer metrics like, with whether it is VTR, whether it is your quartile views, whether it is your viewability. I think these are good from a number standpoint, but those should not be the only metric. VTRs are important. It also talks about the efficacy of the how good the creative is, right? The stickiness for audience to stay onto it. But I think keeping that duration check today is extremely critical. It's said that somewhere between 25 to 29 seconds is what an ideal duration should be for an audience to consume. Anything longer, maybe they will not, read it, or maybe they will not register it well. Lower frequency, they might not even register your brand completely, right? So there is so much of storytelling happening online. So somewhere, I think the measurability should not be only a function of outcomes of the media plan, but a larger outcome that they can give, right? It could also be measuring searches on specific platforms, like even Amazon, right? Has that led to that? I think are equally a strong metric. I think it's given that, we need to have ads in a brand safe and a very transparent model. I think we are talking about transparency in this industry that continues. So having the right filters for brand safety is equally important, and then the numbers will deliver.
Got it. Reethika, anything to add from you spoke about AMC, but...
No, so I'll tell you from an efficacy perspective, like in any media channel that you do, what are the typical ways to measure it? Your objective is that, let's say, you want to drive awareness to consideration, you check your TOMA, right?
Yeah.
You check how many people were even like able to mention you in their top 2 consideration boxes, right?
Correct.
These are the 2 ways to kind of measure it. Today, I feel like there are other ways to also do it, which is like brand searches, which we spoke about. Incidentally, we were just discussing this some time back. So Google searches and Amazon searches, these are the only 2 measurable metrics which are real-time possible to kind of like, get some nuances of how your media mix is really working.
Sure.
And so we do that. We do, measure those. But as I said, right, like, and unless you get that right reach and frequency number, I feel like we are all, it's a spray and pray method.
Yeah.
We start with benchmarks of the category. Today, we learned it the hard way, whereby each channel we have actually defined now a frequency which drives impact, right? And that's an exercise that we've done. Like, I think with mini TV, the exercise that we did was we have to deliver close to about 8 to 9 to deliver, a relevant impact. And we have some other numbers by YouTube which are, in the 12 to 15 ratio. So there is a science now that we are developing to understand what is that right sufficiency and frequency mix, so to say. Because reach also today, reach is such a number that we all take for granted. 10%, you do 10%, you do about 50%.
Yeah.
But if you do 10%, you're really doing nothing. You might as well not do it.
Correct.
You have to do like a decent amount of sufficiency. Of course, it depends on the category. If the category is too small, then you have to choose a higher number, of course.
Sure.
But to see a measurable impact, there has to be a sufficiency metric to be looked at and not just reach.
Got it. Oh, that's...
And these are the metrics, I think, which will deliver on efficacy. Brand searches are the most tangible ones.
Right. No, makes sense. I think you're absolutely right. I think this is something that we are also seeing with brands and partners, advertising on mini TV or Amazon Video in general. That I think it's about just going beyond looking at the reach number, but also looking at, are you looking at consideration? Are you looking at frequency building and so on and so forth?
And then if in case, like, just to add to that, like if in case there's a competition of yours who's delivering at the same RNF and delivering impact, then it's a creative problem. Then it's definitely a creative problem to fix.
Correct.
So those are some of the learnings that we have developed.
Sure. From what we've sort of partnered on, any tips or recommendations from both of you on brands who want to say advertise on mini TV that you would give or you would suggest?
I think in our experience of working with one of the large CPG brands, I think at least the performance so far between I'm just not talking mini TV but DSP, mini TV, Fire TV.
Yeah.
I think it is at par with a lot of our OTT investments otherwise. Obviously, the brands have certain KPIs against each of them, and this is delivering definitely in terms of at least VTRs, if I want to talk about, just to qualify. and there is no challenge on that. I think what we are also looking at is that one, differentiation. When you talk about multiple platforms, every platform has its own USP, right? Some have a very good search-driven intent, so you know what their interests lie, right? But a lot of the focus is coming back to we are talking about 2024, right? So deprecation of cookies, emphasis on first-party and third-party data is going to be extremely critical. I mean, as an agency also, we make investments in terms of partnering with third-party data as well, because we know that, brands tomorrow they will bring their own first-party data, and there needs to be some form of identity resolution, critical and important to provide, right? So those investments as an agency we need to make, and we are making those investments. But coming back, I think, it's very promising to see that, people get exposed to a creative and to be able to, and the way mini TV is, right? It's integrated itself into the shopping behavior, the Fire TV, and, talking purely about shopping, the classic question always is, when people are coming to shop, why would they really watch a video, right? I think shopping has become an experience, right? It's not just about just looking at a product. There is so much of time spent in comparing A versus B, and you have something interesting, and you're always flipping between contents, right? So you could consume that piece of content. I think it's highly relevant when you're in that minds of engaged buyer, and to be able to subtly or directly feed in the brand communication, I think works extremely well. And I believe staying on the platform, staying native to the platform, and then and there to be able to make a purchase decision, I think is a game changer, definitely. And I think there'll be more campaigns to look at and assess how much is it adding to ROAS, which is where a lot of brands also expect. So that's also critical.
Okay.
What do you?
Firstly, if in case it was like it's Christmas and the wishing tree, open it up. Open it up for other getting into other ecosystems as much.
Okay.
So that could be one of the recommendations, of course. The second thing is have the same kind of data signals that what's possible within the platform of Amazon. I don't think today it's completely replicated within mini TV. Can you have the same complete?
Sure.
And the third thing is, can we have like integrations now that you have content control?
Absolutely.
The exact way that TV went, you have so much power of personalization and content control. If I'm able to identify somebody who is a user of, let's say, a dry skin moisturizer, and I'm able to customize that content, the brand's willing to pay for it. Can you kind of have an intervention with mini TV to be done, because it's anyway short form content? Is a beautiful area that could be looked at.
Absolutely. We should chat outside of this. I mean, we have the 2024 reels in place, so we can anyways chat chat for the on that piece. But I think that's a great input. I'm going to just now go sort of deeper into possibilities.
And have the, because there are a lot of brands who possibly might want to do it, but don't have the capability to build that kind of content.
Correct.
You guys have the capability to build the content, and if you're able to provide that personalization, it'll be super. And there's so much software now to do it.
Correct. And I think content control also, right? I think the good part about mini TV is that a lot of this is high quality content that is, original content that is getting created, right? It's not user generated content. So I think both from a safety perspective as well as opportunity perspective, I think it gives us more room and flexibility. So I think that sort of makes sense. Thank you so much for such an insightful conversation. I think we touched upon a bunch of things, right? From, the evolution in the ecosystem to data to the power of full funnel, going into AMC, incrementality, how to break the clutter in such a crowded OTT space. So I think super insightful, and thank you so much for your time. Lovely having you over.
Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.